All right, good morning. So we're here on the Commonwealth's renewed motion. Can we turn off one of those air conditioners, please? The Commonwealth's renewed motion for reciprocal discovery and the motion to exclude the defendant's newly provided expert, Dr. Marie Russell. I will hear you on your motion. Ms. McLaughlin.
Essentially, the Commonwealth is just seeking that the defendant produce what the Commonwealth is entitled to under Rule 14 and what every criminal defendant in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts must produce to the prosecution. It was not until the day prior to trial on April 15, 2024, that the defendant provided notice of all their experts. During jury impanelment, the Commonwealth filed a renewed motion for reciprocal discovery, and the defendant was ordered within a week to produce the expert opinion testimony that the Commonwealth is entitled to. We are now entering, I believe, week 8 of the trial. The Commonwealth has not received any intended expert opinions, anything that those experts, any written reports, opinions, or anything that those experts have based their opinions on. Essentially, the defendant's strategic decisions not to retain their own expert, but rather rely on the U.S. Attorney's Office investigation does not alleviate them or relieve them from their Rule 14 obligations. As it pertains to Dr. Marie Russell, the Commonwealth did not receive notice that she's an intended expert until about week 6 of the trial on May 21st. It wasn't until May 30th that the defendant provided a brief synopsis of what her expected testimony would be. Essentially, and looking at the balancing tests set forth by the case law, the Commonwealth was extremely surprised by this disclosure. Further, the Commonwealth would put that the defendant's delayed decisions to produce reciprocal discovery is in bad faith. It is intended to ambush the Commonwealth and conduct a trial by surprise. We are still receiving reciprocal discovery. Over the weekend, we received additional photographs that the defendant intends to use. The Commonwealth is extremely prejudiced by these delayed disclosures. So looking at all the balancing factors, exclusion of Dr. Russell is really the only remedy that's appropriate given that we are in week 8 of the trial. The Commonwealth cannot seek a continuance. The Commonwealth has their hands tied with how to effectively prepare for cross-examination of that witness as well as all the other witnesses. We don't have any materials. We don't know what the experts' precise opinions are and what they were testified to. It's essentially, it is in bad faith and there's no less severe sanction. So the Commonwealth would move to exclude Dr. Russell. At this point, we are essentially just seeking the reciprocal discovery that the Commonwealth is entitled to be able to effectively prepare cross-examination of these witnesses so late in the game. Thank you very much.
All right, who's arguing this for the defendant?
There's no mic at council table, so I'm going to go to the podium with the court's permission. We need to be heard on this.
That's why we're here, Mr. Yannetti.
Thank you. I'd like to start with the most outrageous and false assertion that the Commonwealth made in its motion.
Can I just ask you, there's no jury here, can I just ask you how long this is going to take?
Between 5 and 10 minutes.
Okay, because I don't need, the hyperbole.
Your Honor, I need to make my argument in the way that I think is most effective for my client. I will keep this brief and succinct, but I have points to make that I need to put on record.
Okay, and I'm the person you are trying to convince, correct?
I understand that. The Commonwealth, in a public filing, wrote the following on page 3 of its motion. Quote, during a pretrial hearing on February 15th, when asked by the court whether there was any dispute about a canine's involvement or canine DNA, Attorney Yannetti indicated no, and that the defense was not pursuing such claim. I was astounded to read that for 2 reasons. First of all, it is false. It is a lie. Second, the Commonwealth has knowingly lied about something where it's easily verifiable that they lied. We pulled the tape from February 15th.
I don't have that. I don't have that in my motion.
It's on page 3, Your Honor.
I have the Commonwealth's renewed motion for reciprocal discovery, a motion to exclude defendant's expert, Dr. Marie Russell. I don't see your name at all, Mr. Yannetti. I'm on page 3.
It's not page 3, it's page 4. My apologies. My name is right there on page 4. It says exactly what I just argued to the court. It's about the 5th line down. It starts during a final pretrial hearing on February 15th, exactly as I said.
Okay.
All right? We pulled the tape from that February 15th hearing. Here is what was actually said. This court asked me the following, quote, while we're talking about DNA, Mr. Yannetti, do we need to be concerned about canine DNA? Where do we stand with that? I replied, no, I think this is the only outstanding DNA issue. The court then replied, okay, so all right, we're not dealing with canine DNA. I said no. There is nothing in there, contrary to what the Commonwealth has represented to this court in a public filing, that I said there was no canine involvement. There is nothing in there, contrary to what the canine represented to this court and to the public, that the defense was not pursuing pursuing such a claim. Can you imagine the nerve of the Commonwealth to spin that?
This is the hyperbole I don't need. Could you please get to the point? We've got a jury coming in 15 minutes.
I understand, but my integrity has been attacked. There have been allegations of bad faith that has been attacked. I need to defend myself and my client. We were only discussing at that time whether canine DNA was still outstanding, and I succinctly replied, no. They've spun that, or tried to spin that, into a claim that we're somehow waiving our right to argue that John O'Keefe's arm injuries were consistent with a dog attack. I ask you, have they no shame? I'm sure it's not lost on this court that this false filing by the Commonwealth comes on the heels of their nefarious attempt to pass off an inverted video, a false video, before this good jury hearing this case. Never once during the direct examination of Sergeant Bukhenik did they inquire or mention the fact that the video...
All right, I'm going to stop you. Please direct your comments to Rule 14 and the reciprocal discovery obligations that the defense has. That's what this motion is. I know you have a speech you want to make, Mr. Yannetti.
Your Honor, most respectfully, it's not a speech. It's
Okay,
of being alleged to have committed bad faith.
You've moved on from that. Please just focus on Rule 14. Let's do it in two separate parts. You're not calling Frank Sheridan,
No,
right?
we are calling Frank Sheridan.
All right. You've got a new medical, Dr. Russell. We'll do that part of it separately. Tell me about what you've provided the Commonwealth on Chris Van E.
They've gotten his CV, and they've gotten the substance of his opinion from us. They've had that for a long time, and the court, I believe, has already suggested that voir dire will be done prior to his testimony.
All right, so it's starting to look like we might need a whole day of voir dire, and I'm trying to avoid that. Did you provide anything recently since the filing of the Commonwealth's motion, Mr. Yannetti?
Not on Mr. Van E, no.
What does the Commonwealth have on Mr. Van E?
On Mr. Van E, all the Commonwealth has is what's contained, the synopsis on page 2, the first full paragraph. We do not know what his opinions are. It says he'll testify regarding his opinions and conclusions about reconstruction and EDR data obtained in connection with this case. He'll testify to chronological data derived from the EDR, including key cycles and triggering events from the time period in question. I have no understanding or information about what chronological data he's going to testify to, what his ultimate opinions are, anything beyond that relatively vague synopsis that does not comply with Rule 14. Similarly, what's outlined in the rest of the motion, that's all the expert evidence the Commonwealth has received from the defense is contained within the Commonwealth's motion.
Okay. So the defense needs to provide, I'd suggest you listen, the defense needs to provide what chronological data Mr. Van E relied upon and exactly what his opinion is, all right, by the close of business tomorrow.
That's fine.
All right. Now, regarding the 3 experts from A, so I've read that report. I can't tell who does what or what the basis of their opinion is. What have you provided?
Your Honor, we've provided everything that we know. We've mentioned to this court at sidebar, these experts did not arise from us.
I understand that.
These experts were hired by the federal government. They provided a report to us pursuant to the TUI request, and it was specifically outlined and ruled that they could not prep with us.
I'm to believe that the defense is calling 3 witnesses that you've never spoken to and putting them on the stand here when...
That's essentially it. We've spoken to them only for the purposes of coordination of their testimony and their background. That's it. We have not been able to interview them regarding their findings, which are outlined in detail in the reports that both sides have.
See, the report, I don't see that as being detailed. It leaves a lot of questions as the gatekeeper as to what they can testify to.
Well,
you have not complied with your Rule 14 obligations.
We can't, Your Honor. We can't.
So you can't, but you haven't. So I am left with you haven't complied. We need to get everybody here for a voir dire. They can testify in a voir dire, right?
Yes.
We need to do that well in advance of their testimony.
Okay, that's fine, Your Honor.
All right. Now tell me about this ER doc. Is she an ER doc? I haven't seen her. She's not a pathologist.
Well, she's a pathologist, but she has a lot of experience in an ER, which is why she has the experience of having seen dog scratches and dog bites and dog attacks.
All right. So this is not somebody that was involved in the federal investigation, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you need to provide immediately. I want a voir dire of her this week. So we can get her here Wednesday. We want the other folks up here from Pennsylvania this week as well.
Okay, well, we'll make those calls.
So we need to pick a day. How long do you expect the voir dire of each of these witnesses? If, in fact, the defense has not spoken to these witnesses from Pennsylvania about the nature of their opinion, you must want it too. to be able to question them. How long do you expect the voir dire of each of these witnesses to take? I went and told the jury last week, that we were going to get them this case by the end of the month based on your representations, which included voir dires. It looks like at least a day of voir dire hearings here.
Yeah.
Yes.
At least with regard to the, of course, at least with regard to the ARCO witnesses, that's my co-counsel's bailiwick. He anticipates that unless there are a substantial number of objections during the voir dire, he anticipates being able to accomplish that between 45 minutes to an hour with each of those three. With regard to Dr. Russell, we anticipate a half hour. Oh, I'm sorry, there's only two from ARCO, that's right.
You're only calling two? Which two? Are you calling the two that are certified as accident reconstructionists?
Doctors Richler and Wolf, yes.
Good morning, attorneys. We all met here at 8:30 to try and streamline things. And as a result of what we did this morning, it looks like there'll be some day this week. We will all meet to go through things that we need to go through, but we will excuse you. I just don't know quite yet when that will be. We'll know by the end of the day. Also, on the 21st, originally we said we'd be off for the 20th, but again, you know that we don't want to take up any more of your time than necessary, so we will meet on the 21st, but just in the morning because I have a long-standing afternoon that we cannot. The 21st will be a half a day. We'll let you know more as the day progresses. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. So when we left off on Thursday, we were discussing the Sallyport video that was introduced by the Commonwealth on Wednesday during direct examination. Do you recall that?
I do.
When he introduced that video, Mr. Lally asked you several very specific questions about the video, including if you recognize the video in general, correct?
Yes, you did.
You said you did.
I did.
He also asked you whether you recognized any of the individuals in the video at a particular time where he paused the video and you used your green laser pointer to point out a couple of individuals that you recognize. Do you recall that?
I do.
In that pause, you indicated at that time on Wednesday that you recognized Trooper Proctor and what you thought was yourself, the person slipping at the front of the SUV, correct?
I indicated that Trooper Proctor and myself were in the video, and there was an individual slipping in the front of the vehicle.
On Thursday, you corrected that to make sure that we were clear about it. The person slipping was actually the tow driver, not you, correct?
That's what it appeared, so yes.
Okay. I'd like to take a quick look at the same video that you were shown by Mr. Lally. We're at runtime about 5:37 and 05 p.m. The time of day would be most easily seen right down here, although it's pretty small from where you're at. If we can play this for just a quick second. Sergeant, this is the basic point at which it was paused when Mr. Lally asked you to identify the individuals in the video, correct?
I believe it was a different time, but I'm not sure.
Do you remember using your green laser pointer, pointing at the person in the back and identifying that person as Trooper Proctor, and then pointing at the person in the front, screen right, mistakenly as you remember that?
I remember indicating where the individuals would be, yes.
Do you have the green laser pointer with you?
I do.
Could you point at the location where you see Trooper Proctor?
I do not know specifically right now if that is Trooper Proctor behind the vehicle, but when Mr. Lally asked me to indicate where we would be, it was in this location here.
You're indicating toward the rear of the SUV.
Correct.
On Wednesday, you used the laser pointer and pointed at two different individuals, person toward the back, and you identified him as Trooper Proctor, correct?
I indicated that Trooper Proctor and myself would be in the shot in the rear of the vehicle. And I indicated that I'm wearing a olive drab baseball hat, and Trooper Proctor's wearing a winter-style knit black hat.
Isn't it true that the question you were asked from Mr. Lally is, Ms. Gilman, if you can just pause there for a moment as the sergeant's almost falling in the video, and the court said, keep your voice up, Mr. Lally. Do you recall that?
I do not recall that, no.
Do you remember Mr. Lally saying, Sergeant Bukhenik, with reference to any of the individuals you see in this video, do you recognize any of those individuals? You responding, I can recognize Trooper Proctor and myself. You used the green laser pointer in doing so.
Yes, I did.
That was on this area, may not be to the frame, but this is where the video was paused when you made that identification, correct?
It was approximately at this time.
At that time, you did identify Trooper Proctor and, again, mistakenly, yourself, correct?
I directed the laser to the area where we would be.
Okay. Trooper Proctor is the one toward the back of the truck.
Again, I cannot tell you which individual. There are multiple individuals there. I do not know at this point in time where it's frozen if that's exactly Trooper Proctor. I know we were present at that location, and I know what he was wearing for a head and what I was wearing.
All right, so you have to move along from this point.
Then why on Wednesday did you indicate very clearly that the person toward the back of the SUV was Trooper Proctor? If you don't know, why did you say that on Wednesday?
During the frozen frame, I could tell there were two individuals back there, and I was at one point in time in that location with Trooper Proctor.
That appeared to be Trooper Proctor in the back of the car.
From where the video is frozen right now, I cannot tell.
So you're changing your testimony from Wednesday.
Objection.
Are you changing your testimony?
I am not changing my testimony, no.
Okay, next question, Mr. Jackson.
You then asked whether the video was true and accurate in terms of its depiction of what you saw, what you observed in Sallyport that night, correct?
I indicated the video is true and accurate to the location.
And you were then asked whether or not, in looking at that video, or watching it, either you or Trooper Proctor approached, manipulated, touched that right rear taillight at any time, and your answer was never, correct?
That's correct.
While you testified, this is the video that was displayed for the jurors, correct? It was this orientation, the front of the truck facing right, the rear of the truck facing left, correct?
That's correct.
For all appearances, it would appear that the right rear taillight of the SUV is the one facing the jurors, if you will, facing the viewer, right? From appearance, you didn't know anything different.
Can you rephrase that question, please?
Sure. Just from the appearance of the video, as it is now, the appearance of the video, it looks like the right rear taillight is the tail that's facing the jurors, facing the viewer, toward the rear of the truck, correct?
As it is frozen, correct.
On Wednesday, you did not mention that this video was inverted, did you?
It was not brought out, no.
Not brought out by, I mean, that's a passive way of saying it. I'm asking you directly. Did you mention that this was an inverted video?
Not on Wednesday, no.
Mr. Lally finished his questioning on Wednesday, then came back on Thursday. You continued on direct examination under questioning by Mr. Lally again to start the day, correct?
That is correct.
During that testimony on Thursday morning, you also, under direct examination, did not mention that this video was inverted, did you?
Did not know.
And then it was my turn to ask you questions. You recall that? And then I began asking you questions about the accuracy of this video. At that time, for the first time, you said it appears that it is a mirror image. It's an inverted video, correct?
I advised you that it is a mirrored image at that point, correct?
Would you agree with me now, as you sit here, that this video, as we're looking at it, is not a true and accurate depiction of what you viewed in that Sallyport that night?
I would not agree with you, no.
You believe that what the jurors are seeing right here is true and accurate surveillance footage of the Sallyport that night,
Yes, it's just mirrored.
which means what's left is right and what's right is left, correct?
Correct. If the jurors were actually standing where the camera is recording, which it's recording all accurate depiction of activity and events taking place, the back of the vehicle would be on the right and the front of the vehicle would be on the left, but all activity is accurately depicted in the video.
So, in point of fact, everything in this video, every bit of it, is reversed, correct?
It's just a mirror image.
So it's not accurate, is it?
It's an accurate depiction of what is taking place.
So, Nick, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say you were investigating a circumstance in which a suspect was being identified by 5 witnesses based on a tattoo on that person's left arm. And then you go show that witness, or those series of witnesses, an inverted version of a photograph of that person with the tattoo appearing on his right arm. Those witnesses all say, nope, that's not the guy. I remember the guy. The guy had the tat on the left arm. Would you think that that's an accurate depiction of the person with the tattoo?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you agree with me that an inverted video is not accurate? It's inverted by definition, right?
It's an accurate depiction of the events taking place.
You've reviewed this video in its entirety, you testified, correct?
Yes.
About how long would you say this video is in its runtime, from start to finish?
I did not take note of the length of the video.
All right, this video. Can you see the timestamp on the lower left-hand side?
No, I cannot.
Jurors, sometimes lawyers have what we call stipulations. Rather than prolonging either testimony or calling an additional witness, lawyers agree as to certain facts. What the lawyers have agreed to here is that this video begins at 5:30 and 23 seconds, 5:30 p.m. and 23 seconds, and it ends at 5:48 and 15 seconds. The total run time of the video is 5 minutes and 51 seconds.
Thank you for that, Your Honor. Sergeant Bukhenik, given the fact that the beginning time, the time of day, is 5:30 and 23 seconds in the evening, and the end time of this video stops at 5:48 and 15 seconds. Would you agree with me, without doing the math down to the seconds, that's about 17 minutes and 50 seconds or so?
In real time, yes.
In real time. The actual time of this video, the run time of this video, however, is only 5 minutes and 51 seconds, less than 6 minutes. You'd agree with that?
That is what's captured.
So that means that about 2/3 of the video is missing, correct?
It's not missing, just not recorded.
It's not there.
It was never there.
I'm not saying it was ever there. I'm saying I don't know if it was ever there or not, neither do you. I'm saying it's not there, correct?
It was never recorded.
Well, you don't know what has been or and wasn't recorded, do you?
Objection.
I'll let him answer that.
Do you?
I can only speak to what was turned over and what we received, and based on the evidence that was produced, the video that was produced is what we got.
I understand. So based on that answer, you acknowledge you don't know what may or may not have been recorded without your knowledge.
No.
Right. Did you notice that there were obvious portions of the video in which individuals just seemed to appear or apparate out of nowhere?
It's not a smooth recording of the events. When the motion triggers the recording, the video appears as if a person appeared in the video. But that is due to the triggering of the recording.
Well, you don't know what it's due to because you're not an IT person who actually captured the video, correct?
Objection.
Sustained, ask that differently.
Sure. You're not the IT person, the technical person who captured this video, correct?
I am not, no.
You don't maintain this video system, do you?
I do not know. Based on my training and experience, I know that certain systems, due to the restrictions of the storage of the system, they try to save the storage and trigger the recording only by motion or certain time parameters. So in this video footage, I could tell you that the video is triggered by motion to record.
How much storage did this system have?
I do not know.
What was the level of storage at the time that this video was taken? Was it percent? Was it 99%? What was it?
I do not know.
So you actually don't know, Sergeant, the inner workings of this system, do you?
I do not know all the inner workings of the system, no.
But you do know that there appears to be portions of this video and portions of this video in which people just seem to apparate out of nowhere.
It's not missing, it just was not recording.
You see where the person that was toward the back of the vehicle went in this video?
It appeared they went behind the vehicle.
Which would be which area of the vehicle, the right or the left? In real life, not on this video.
In real life, it would be the right rear portion of the vehicle.
Toward the taillight area.
That quarter panel, correct?
Did it appear that someone just seemed to appear out of nowhere toward the rear of the vehicle just now?
Due to the triggering of the motion,
I asked you why. I asked you if. Did it appear if someone just appeared out of nowhere in the back of the vehicle?
that's what the footage represents, yes.
Can we go ahead and play this? Pause it. Did you see that the person walking away from the vehicle that you earlier on Wednesday identified as Trooper Proctor appeared to have a notebook, black portfolio in his hand?
Yes, I did.
Can you see from there, I'm going to ask you this basically knowing the answer, can you see from there the time of day on the lower left side as that person leaves the screen?
No, I cannot.
Would you disagree if I indicated to you that was 5:38 and 7 seconds in the evening?
I would have to see it for myself. I cannot agree with you based on your statement.
All right, so Sergeant, we're going to ask you to go take a look at that, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please don't speak until you're back in the witness stand. Thank you. All right, Mr. Jackson?
Thank you. Sergeant, did you have an opportunity to look at the time of day at the point that the video is paused right now?
Yes, I did.
What is that time of day?
5:38:07.
5:38 and 7 seconds, correct?
That's correct.
Remind me about how far of a drive is this location at Canton PD from 34th Fairview?
With no traffic, no adverse weather and road conditions, several minutes, 4 minutes maybe, 5 minutes, depending which route you take.
I have a flash drive that I'd like to have marked marked.
Is this a different flash drive than we had on Friday?
It is, and I can explain it sidebar if the court wishes.
All right, are you just marking it, or do you intend to show it?
I intend to show it with the court's permission.
All right, so we'll mark it for identification, and I do need to see you, yes. Thank you. I'm going to take a 2-minute recess.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. As a matter of housekeeping, after the admission of the last item that was marked for identification,
XX.
do you recognize what's depicted in what's just been marked as Exhibit 542?
I do.
How do you recognize that?
It's an inversion of the video provided from Canton PD Sallyport.
It's actually, and that inversion corrects the perspective. Do you agree with that?
I would.
Okay, so now we're looking at what we've always been looking at, but it's clear that we're looking at the driver's side of the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
Everything in it's properly oriented, is that right?
It's an accurate depiction of what is taking place.
Meaning right is right and left is left in this video.
The vehicle came from the right into the left. The driver's side is visible and is closest to the camera.
Pause it. You saw the person that was toward the back of the vehicle that you earlier on Wednesday identified as Trooper Proctor moving towards the passenger side taillight area in this video, correct?
I observed the person walking that way.
Let's go ahead and play it. And you see the person toward the taillight area moving out of frame just now, correct?
I did, yes.
That person had that black portfolio in his hand.
That's correct.
I'd like to ask Mr. Bates if you wouldn't mind moving the cursor back to the beginning before the SUV was actually in the Sallyport. Do you see what's depicted in the video now and the beginning of the video?
I'm observing the still frame.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Can you see the chyron at the bottom of the video indicating the date stamp and the time stamp? Can you see that from where you are?
I see the blue color. I don't know what exactly it is.
Are your eyes good enough to see that that is completely inverted?
They are not.
They're not inverted?
They are not good enough.
That was a good answer to a bad question on my part. With the court's permission, would it be possible for the sergeant to approach the screen and take a look at that timestamp?
Will you do that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you able to see that timestamp?
Yes, I was.
Sergeant, did that timestamp appear to be inverted?
The blue writing appears to be backwards.
In this version of the video, which has been inverted from the version shown by the Commonwealth, that also was inverted, correct?
What appears on the screen is inverted.
Thank you. I'd like to zoom in on a portion of the middle of the video.
Okay.
Sergeant, I want to direct your attention to the area of the video right above the hand truck. Do you see that area?
I do.
Do you see that white object just above the snow line?
I see something there. I do not know what it is, if it's an object or it's more snow.
Can you tell if that's a dirty white rag?
I cannot tell what it is.
Fair enough. Thank you. We've seen a corrected version of that Sallyport video from that camera. There's also another camera on the opposite side of the Sallyport, isn't there?
There is.
That one, for lack of a better phrase, that one came out pretty grainy. Would you agree?
Yes, it's not perfect quality.
The other view would show, given the fact that it's on the opposite side of the wall of this video, that actually would show the right rear portion of the SUV as it was parked in that Sallyport, would it not?
Yes, it would.
Let's take a look with the court's permission. Thank you. I know it's very hard to see, Sergeant, but could you tell me, as the video is paused right here at the beginning of the timestamp, can you see the outline of the antique police car?
I can make that out, yes.
It appears that there's no vehicle in the foreground this side of that antique police car, correct?
That's correct.
You also can see that this video is in fact not inverted. It's the correct orientation, right?
That's correct.
Obviously, it's pretty lacking in quality, but you can make out the fact that there is an outline of a vehicle there, correct?
Correct.
Play for about a little less than a minute.
Okay.
Sergeant, did you see what was depicted on the video as that just ran from 5:07, a few seconds, until it was just paused?
I did watch the video.
How much time would you estimate elapsed to just watch that video in real time?
15 seconds, maybe?
Okay. You see something in the foreground just appeared there next to that antique police car.
It appears that the SUV has now pulled into the Sally Port, and there's an individual standing behind the SUV.
You see what the time of day is on that?
I do not.
Can you see that it's paused at 5:50 and 46 seconds?
I cannot.
This is the last time I would ask that. Unfortunately, I cannot zoom on this, Your Honor. With the court's permission, the sergeant make one more trip to the screen to give us the exact time that this is paused.
This is the last time, Sergeant. Would you please?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
What was the time? What is the timestamp where the video is paused?
5:50:46.
5:50 and 46 p.m. Correct?
That's correct.
So it appears that this video in about 15 seconds jumps 42 minutes to the 5:50 mark. Correct?
I don't know how much it jumps.
From 5:08 approximately to 5:50 approximately, how much time is that?
Approximately 48.
42 minutes, right?
Excuse me, 42. Yes.
That's okay. This reads a vehicle which shows the right rear tail light portion just appears, correct? 5.
There's a vehicle that appears. There appears to be an individual standing behind the vehicle. It's not just a taillight that appears.
But Sergeant, the exact time that would show what Trooper Proctor was doing at the right rear taillight, that is missing.
Objection.
Sustained.
The exact time that would show what the person who you identified on Wednesday as being Trooper Proctor, that video is not there, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
This video, Sergeant, you will agree, if that 42-minute period existed, that would have shown, that would have been the only video that would establish the actual condition of the taillight the moment the SUV arrived in police custody in that Sally Port, correct?
Objection.
You can ask that differently.
Is there any other video other than this one that would show the exact condition of that taillight as it pulled in to the Sally Port? Or is this the only one?
From that location,
Correct.
that is the video that captures that time frame.
That's also the video that captures that area of the car, correct? The right rear portion of the car.
Correct.
That 42 minutes from when the car arrived until 5:50 in the evening, that portion is missing, correct?
It's not missing. It's just not recorded.
It's not there, Sergeant Buick. I'm not splitting words with you, splitting hairs. It's not there. It's gone, correct?
It's not on the screen now.
It's not anywhere, is it?
I do not know.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Morning, Sergeant.
Good morning, sir.
How this video was played before the jury on Wednesday during your direct testimony, the condition of that video, the view of that video, that's how you received it from the Canton Police Department, correct?
That's correct.
Nothing was done to alter it, change it in any way, shape, or form from when you received it to when it was played before the jury.
Sustained. You can't lead, Mr. Lally.
What was done to alter or change that video to the time that it was played before the jury?
Objection.
Ask it differently one more time.
As far as the condition when you received it and the condition when it was played for the jury, what was different?
There was no manipulation, alteration of the video between
I'll allow the answer.
when we received it from Canton Police Department, when I played it, and when it was played for you.
Cameras are motion active, correct?
That's correct.
As far as the skipping that you observed at various points of the video, was that something that occurred once or more than once?
More than once, repeatedly.
Was it one specific portion of the video? And by that I mean, was it only at the beginning or only in the middle or only at the end, or was it throughout?
It's consistently happening when there's lack of motion. The video does not record because it's not triggered to record.
From the video, at least as far as you've seen, the one that you were shown on Wednesday and the one that you were shown today, or the portions that you were shown today, what difference did you note between the content of what's contained in the video?
The content of the video is accurate depiction of what's taken place. The only difference that I noticed today is that the version played was actually inverted from the original version that I received and which was produced.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask that the entirety of that 5 minutes and 51 seconds of video be played.
Okay.
pause there, Ms. Gilman. That area just played before the jury, that is when the vehicle was brought in by the truck driver from the flatbed from the driveway video into the Sally Port area, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Gilman, if you could. Gentlemen, if you could pause it there for 1 second. Sergeant, I'm going to direct your attention to the person that just opened the driver's side. That's the tow truck driver, is that correct?
That's correct.
Just ask you to take a look at the door and if there's snow on the door when he closes that door. Gentlemen, if you could. Sergeant, if I could direct your attention back to the ring video. I think it was video 53 from Exhibit 6. When you were shown that video on cross-examination and asked about any movement that you saw on the driver's side rear tire, things of that nature. Do you recall that?
I do.
Do you recall that portion of the video when it's alleged that Ms. Reed's vehicle came close to or made contact with Mr. O'Keefe's vehicle in the driveway? At that point, did you observe any snow coming off of Mr. O'Keefe's car when they came close to each other?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I don't remember exactly if there was snow coming off the vehicle. There was snow falling, and that was captured by the ring video. I don't recall if any snow came off the vehicle.
Sergeant, that video starts at approximately 5:30 p.m. on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
And is that before or after the ring video at Mr. O'Keefe's house when you can see the defendant's smashed tail?
Objection.
And the objection is sustained. Ask the question.
5:30 p.m. on January 29th, is that before or after 5:07 a.m. when you observed the defendant's vehicle on the ring video at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
That is after.
And is that before or after you observed on the ring video the defendant, Ms. Roberts, and Ms. McCabe driving the defendant's vehicle and parking it in the driveway of Mr. O'Keefe's house?
It's after.
Is it before or after about, say, 8:22 in the morning, at some point when a Canton Cruiser parks in the driveway behind the defendant's vehicle?
It's after.
Is it before or after about 12:30 p.m. or so when the defendant and her father and her brother from the videos from Exhibit 6, the ring videos on 1 Meadows Ave, are parked in and around the defendant's vehicle and then leave with the defendant's vehicle to go to Dyke?
It's after.
Is it before or after the video that you testified about on Wednesday in regard to the surveillance video from the defendant's father's house in Dayton when that vehicle is being loaded onto a truck and you can see it there?
Withdrawn.
Okay.
It's after.
You had a conversation or an interview with the defendant on the afternoon of January 29th when you were in Dayton, correct?
That's correct.
During the course of that interview, she made statements about her broken taillight and when that occurred, correct?
Objection.
Do you want the instruction, or do you want to come see me at sidebar?
Sidebar.
Now, Sergeant, between the version of the video that you and the jury witnessed on Wednesday and the version that you just witnessed the entirety of right now, what difference as far as the depiction or people or places between those two versions of the video?
Outside of it being a mirror image of itself, it accurately depicts any activity or action in Sallyport.
At any point in time that you were in the Sallyport area of the Canton Police Department garage, did you or Trooper Proctor ever go near, touch, manipulate the rear passenger side taillight area or the rear passenger side panel of the defendant's vehicle?
We absolutely did not.
If I could turn you back to some questions you were asked on cross-examination about something that was reported to the Chief Medical Examiner's office. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
Some questions about statements that you had made to the OCME at approximately 10:41 a.m. on January 29th. Do you recall that?
I do recall that.
You were asked some questions about reporting it as a possible domestic assault, correct?
That is correct.
Can you explain to the jury what led to that statement as far as what you knew at that time and why you would make those statements to the medical examiner?
The Massachusetts general law directs us, just as it gives the district attorney's power and authority over all death investigations. The following Section 5 of that chapter directs all state medical and police entities to work in coordination with the medical examiner's office. By law, we're supposed to work together on the legal investigations that the medical examiner's office conducts. We conduct the criminal portion of the investigation, they conduct the medical portion of the investigation. Thus, I contacted the medical examiner's office and advised them what we had learned at the time. Up to that point, we had learned that the defendant stated that she hit him. The Canton Police Department had collected a broken glass. So based on the physical evidence and the statements made by the defendant to the first responders at the scene at that point in time, I had communicated those facts to the medical examiner's office. That way they would document it, but also be prepared to investigate the case with the most up-to-date information available.
Now, at that time that you made that statement to the representative from the Chief Medical Examiner's office, had you been to Good Samaritan Hospital and seen Mr. O'Keefe at that point?
I have not.
Had you obviously seen any of the injuries that Mr. O'Keefe had sustained prior to making that statement to the medical
I
examiner?
had not.
Now, as far as the information that you received, you mentioned first responders indicating that the defendant had stated, "I hit him." Who was the first responder that provided that information?
Be Canton Police Sergeant Good.
In addition to that, did you or Trooper Proctor speak with any of the Canton Fire personnel?
Yes, we did.
Who did he speak with?
I believe it was firefighter Flamini.
So firefighter Flamati, is that correct?
That's correct.
After going to Good Samaritan Hospital and viewing Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, as far as what you had earlier reported to the medical examiner, what changed based on those observations as far as your opinion as to what had transpired?
Based on what I learned from observing the injuries, I could tell that the glass,
I'm going to allow it. You can move to strike it, but I'm going to allow it.
I could tell that the glass was most likely not the object, the weapon, which was used to cause the injury to the back of Mr. O'Keefe's head.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Any recross?
Very quickly.
Okay.
In your report to the CME, you said it was a glass to the face, not to the back of the head, correct?
I'm not sure how they wrote it down, but I would need to be refreshed on my memory.
Okay, fair enough. Last sentence. Thank you. Thank you, Sergeant. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it does.
What did you say, or what did you report to the CME?
That there was a possibility that was struck to the face with a glass.
You also, with regard to the phrase, I hit him, or Sergeant Good and or Flamati telling you that Ms. Reed said she hit him. When did Sergeant Good tell you that?
It would have been during our conversations at the police department.
When did EMT tell you that?
He never told me that.
So the only thing you were going on with regard to the phrase or the statement that you claim my client indicated she hit him is coming from Sergeant Good.
That information at that time was provided by the first responders from the scene.
And Sergeant Good then relayed that to you, correct?
At some point, yes.
Is there a single report memorializing that Sergeant Good reported to you that morning before 10:41 a.m. that my client made the statement that she hit him?
I don't believe so.
I want to shift gears real quick to the video. A couple of quick questions about that. When did you, and I'm talking about the higher quality video, the one that was inverted. When did you receive that video? What date?
I'm not sure. It was at some point in either late April or early May.
After we had started this trial.
Do you know?
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay.
If after mid-April, correct?
I believe so. I'm strictly speculating.
Who asked you to retrieve that video?
I did not retrieve that video.
I'm sorry, that was a presumptuous question. At what point were you asked to secure the video? Or were you ever asked to secure the video?
That video was never secured by me. I was not asked to secure it. I just was asked to review it.
Okay, so who did secure the video to your knowledge?
I do not know.
Let me ask you a couple of different questions then, based on that. You've already testified that you knew that the Canton Police Department was recused from any investigation concerning this, correct?
At one point, we learned that the Canton Police Department, the decision was made way above my level, and I was advised by Detective Lieutenant Tully that Canton Police had recused themselves from the investigation as far as interviews go.
You knew that that recusal was because of a connection between the Canton Police Department and the Albert family, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you know, or were you informed, that the recusal was based on the connection between the Canton Police Department and the Albert family?
Objection.
So it's sustained for the same reason I sustain the Commonwealth's objection at sidebar, Mr. Jackson.
Last question, provided the video.
I do not know.
Canton Police Department, wasn't it?
You asked who? That's an entity.
Okay, what entity provided the video?
It came from the Canton Police Department.
That's all I have.
All right, Sergeant, you are all set.
Thank you, Your Honor.